What's going down, people? It's your boy, Meyer Carl, back again. We're here for the Dads Podcast. If you've been watching, you realize that we had season 1, 2, and 3, but now all of a sudden everything is just episodes. To me, it just looks a lot better. And we've gotten over our 30th episode, which I'm extremely happy about. So I'll do, what they say on a Breakfast Club? Drop on the clues, mom, and all that other stuff. But
drink chance.
Yeah, they do the smoke machine. We ain't gonna do no smoke machine. We ain't gonna do no smoke machine like that. But as you can hear, we have more than one guest for the very first time. I'm extremely excited about the guys that I have sitting next to me. We're gonna have great conversations. We've already been in a whole lot of stuff. If we had the behind the scenes, you'd be happy to hear it. But first, what I'm gonna do is I want to hear the long story. I want to hear the intros from these guys because I want you to get a chance to know them the way I know them. So let's start with Ron. What's going on, baby?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
So talk to me.
Talk to me. So my name is Ron. Born and raised in Michigan. Most of my life, I was also raised in Clarksville, Tennessee, too, for quite a few years. That's where my dad was from. Joined the Navy about 5 years ago, almost 6. So I just finished up my first sea tour down in Mayport, Florida. I had my fun down there in Florida, but that time was up. So now I'm here in VA. So I'm on my shore duty tour. I'm enjoying it. I get a lot more time with my wife, the daughter. So I definitely get a lot more time at home. So I'm enjoying that. And I'm looking to see where my next stop going to be.
Say less.
What's good, everybody? I'm Myers' little bro. My name's Denzel. I've been on a pod before. I'm 26. I'm from South Jersey. I've been in the Navy going on 4 years now, almost 4 years. I have a wife and a daughter that run my life religiously. But yeah, that's like a little quick intro.
I'll say less.
Yo, what it do?
What's good?
Hey, man, first, man, I just want to thank you, man, for having me. Been loving what you've been doing, Meyer, man, this podcast, man, and putting out content for us dads, man. So I really want to appreciate it. Name's Chris, 37 years old, from Boston, by the way of Minnesota. Sailor, been in the Navy for about 20 years. I'm a husband, been married for about 10 years, and I'm also a father. My oldest son is Chris III. He's the first third in our family. And my baby girl, Mnet, she's 6 years old.
So we met in Guam. You have been all over the place.
Yeah, man, everywhere, man.
Just touch a few places that you either been stationed or lived for a good amount of time.
Yeah, well, I'm what you call a West Coast sailor. First duty station was out in San Diego. San Diego is kind of like a second home, more like a third home. But as far as military home, San Diego's got about 12 years of my career.
Wow.
Not consistent, but kind of broken up. Also stationed out in Hawaii. And then, we met in Guam, man. Which was a good tour.
Good tour, bro.
Me and my family went out there kicking and streaming, did not want to go, man. But, obviously being out there during COVID, my kids were young. I think my son was 3, turning 4. My daughter was 2. And just, literally going, a lot of people don't know, man, Guam's in the middle of nowhere.
Literally in the middle of nowhere.
It is like a speck in the Pacific Ocean, man. I tell people I'm coming from Guam, and about 7 out of 10 people don't even know where that's at. So it's very far away from home. But yeah, we low key kind of miss it, man. My kids, I was able to raise them, man. They're definitely beach babies, and and especially being out there during COVID. I mean, I think it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
It being a small island, COVID, we were one of the last places that COVID hit. Obviously, some people caught it, but the death percentages wasn't as high. And it just worked out. Obviously. It brought, our beautiful families together. So I really appreciate my time out there.
So I know you got family in Minnesota. We talking Boston. You moved to California, back over to Virginia. I can't imagine how that's been for the kids. I know children are extremely resilient. How have your kids taken like all the moving and stuff?
Man, they're loving it, man. They're eating it up. The fact that, they've lived, California on the West, went overseas, and now we're on the East Coast. When it's time to move, they're all for it. The plane's no stranger to them. I really thought moving from Guam over here, which took 19 hours, and they just ate it up. And I thought it was going to be a nightmare, but it turned out pretty cool. So I kind of, it was something in the back of my mind, picking my family up and move from here and there, but as long as they with us, as long as our core family's together, there are some things that we do get to miss out, with being away from family. They don't get to, the dinners at grandma's or grandpa's or whatnot. They can't, see their cousins, for birthdays or whatnot. So that does kind of take a hit, but retirement's coming. It's real soon, man. So then we going home. So they'll definitely have the chance, and they'll be young enough to where they can experience that as well. So I'm
and before we get really into what we're going to talk about today, I just want to have everybody understand the different seasons and types of fatherhood that we're in right now. You're OG Poppy right now.
Man, I know I'm the oldest one here.
Yeah,
man.
I didn't think you were old at all.
You're not old. It's but older school age kids.
You look young. I ain't a little young, man. I'm young. Hey, man. Hey, listen, man. I got no gray hairs, man. I got a head full of hair, man. Shoot, so I'm youthful.
You look good, yeah. We got. How old is she now? Is she
Nova she turns 3 in March, so she's 2.
3, and then you're about to do your first move.
Yeah, man.
And then I'm a father of multiples, and we got Ron. You got one on the way.
Yeah.
So I want to know from all of us, are you nervous? Are you ready? Prepared? Confident?
Yeah. It's a learning curve. A little nervous, confident as well. But yeah. So my first experience with fatherhood is with my stepdaughter.
Okay.
And I think.
How old is she?
She's 7.
7. Okay.
7. Kaylee. Her name's Kaylee. But it's prepared me for this next one coming. So I'm nervous, but I've also had some preparation. But it was becoming a father at the age I did was difficult because she was already here.
Yeah.
Everything she knew was her and mommy. And then, when I met my wife and we got married and started dating, it was different. It was hard for her because it's now it's not just me and mommy for the first 4 years of my life. It's me, mommy, and daddy now. So I had to it was hard because I had to earn her respect, earn her love, earn her trust. And that's crazy saying about a 4-year-old, but you do because kids, they read energy. They know when something ain't right. If they know who they can't trust, they're not gonna rock with you. So it was tough in that aspect, man. A lot of ups and downs, but it's prepared me now to have my first biological child, which I'm excited for. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. So another girl. So I guess I'm meant to be a girl dad, man. Yeah. So she'll be here in.
He already knows. That's the man that can help you right there.
Yeah, she'll be here March 25th. So that's my first biological.
Wow. Oh yeah, my daughter. Her birthday's close to that date.
Yeah,
I'm bad with birthdays.
You don't know your daughter's birthday.
I do believe she is March 23rd.
Wow,
but I'm getting confused because the day that she was supposed to come was the 24th, but she came the 23rd.
Okay, so that's
so it's I know it's one of those 2 days.
We might be giving you some grace. I don't know if Kayla gonna give you. No.
But the thing is, Kay knows I don't even know my siblings.
No, I'm the same way.
I wouldn't even know cousins' birthdays. They be like, "You ain't calling us happy birthday." Happy birthday!
Yeah, look, just shoot a text. Thank God for Facebook.
Yeah.
I almost got stuck in San Francisco one year. Somebody had stole all my ID, my wallet, my everything about the locker room while we were playing, and I still had to get on the airport, get on a plane, and come back. The thing is, I didn't have none of my stuff, no IDs, so they have to ask you certain questions, take you to a back room. They started asking me the easiest and the first questions were, "What are your parents' birthdays?"
Oh wow.
I didn't know, bro. I was like, I'm not going home.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Good luck.
I'm not going home.
That's a pressure moment though, man. You probably got interrogated and everything.
And I was like, can I call my dad? Why would you call you? That's not going to
Hey, Dad, what's your birthday?
And then we would have both been stuck on the phone. Like, let me see. Let me look at my phone. I would have been stuck. But let's get into it because I know we got a lot to talk about. So I made sure I wrote everything down. It's something I'm trying to do a better job at, so I won't just go off on these tangents. But I want to talk about reflecting on meaningful moments with our fathers and basically how that's going to translate into our kids. We want to talk about different generations and all that. So I wrote down my first reflection question. When you think about your relationship with your father, what are some moments or experiences that stand out to you as particularly meaningful or influential? How have those moments shaped your perspective on fatherhood or influenced the way that you approach your relationships? And that's a long question, but anybody can answer. Started off.
Yeah. I'll probably jump into that, man. I'm my father's namesake. You know, I'm known as Lil Chris, even though I'm a big guy. You know, I think I took that name over Big Chris. But yeah, I'm Chris Jr. and you know, I've watched my father my whole life, and when I say that he led by example, you know, my father always, even to this day, he can, if there's a lesson that he can instill into me, he's gonna let me know. Raised in a church, my father's an elder. I've seen this man serve like his whole life. You know, whether it was cleaning up the church on the weekends, and you know, me and my brothers was always there. You know, from the get go. But you talking about one specific moment that I can always remember, and I even use this moment with some of my sailors. It was on a Sunday. We was getting ready for church, and maybe 10, 11 years old, you know, around there. And I'm sitting there ironing my dress shirt. Right?
Yeah. With the starch? No starch.
Man, no starch. No starch, man. But I mean, the way I ironed it, you would have thought it had some starch on it.
I was prepared you for the Navy. You was already ready.
But you know what, though? That simple fact of ironing my shirt at that age, I see my father do it, you know, all the time. So I'm sitting there ironing my shirt. You know, I think he's in the room or whatnot. And so I thought I was slick, right? So, you know, I done ironed my sleeves, you know, got them crisp, and I kind of like ironed the top of my dress shirt. But I left like the tail, you know, the bottom, it's going to be tucked in, right? You know, so, you know, I just left it alone. Like, that's going to be tucked in. They won't see that. And I unplugged the iron. I'm about to take my shirt, and he's like, "What you doing?" I was like, and I try to, you know, give him, you know, "Dad, this is going to be tucked in. They're not going to see it." And he literally pulled me aside, was like, "Son, I don't want you should never, ever half-ass do anything in life. No matter if it's going to get you somewhere quicker, you should never half-ass do anything." Right. And I swear I remember that moment to the T, you know, and I still use that. And I use that example with sailors or just, you know, anybody. It doesn't matter, you know. And that stuck with me forever. So it's like if I'm given a job, even if I want to do it or not, hey, my name's on there, and you know, I'm going to give it my all to complete the task. You know, that stuck with me for the rest of my life, over 30 years.
That's tough.
That's good stuff.
It's like so crazy. I can connect with Chris because my grandfather was a pastor. We had a church in Philly, and my dad was the head deacon. So it was like Saturdays, Sundays, Wednesdays, choir rehearsal because my sister was a choir director.
You telling my story, bro?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so crazy. Yeah. I was at church. I grew up in church. And my dad, one of the things that he taught me was faith, having faith. And the story that comes to mind is right before I went to high school, my dad got into a car accident on his job. He was on his job for maybe 30 years. So for his whole adult life, he worked for a vending machine company. And when he got injured, his job didn't want to give him his retirement. And they were holding his pay, holding his money. So we were living on one income. And my mom was working and my dad was unable to work because he had a court case. So they were going to say, "Oh, if you can work, we don't need to if you can work, we don't need to pay you." Right. You know what I mean? You can just you can come back to work. And to see him every day as a man, he's seen that we were struggling. And the only thing he could do was every night get on his knees and pray.
Wow, his faith.
And he would do it. He did it for all 4 years of high school for me. And when it came to a point where I was trying to go to college and play football, they were like, "Hey, you know, buddy, your SAT scores aren't right. You don't know how to count."
Yeah, they be quick with that.
You don't know how to do math. So my dad was like, "Boy, I know that you can be a great football player. I know you have so much promise. I will do anything in my power to make you, be where you need to be." And my dad sold his truck, sold his car, was stuck in the house, and he said, "Hey, I'm selling my car and I'm investing in you. I've invested in you all my life, but I want you to have the, chance to make it to that next level, which you've been working for." So he sold his truck and sent me to this specialty school that got me to get my SAT scores where they needed to be. And to see him have that much faith And, you know, as a man, we have ego. We want to provide.
Yeah.
And my dad's the macho of a macho man. You know what I mean? He's this guy that's always smiling. But there were times where I see my dad show emotion. And I said, that's what a real man is. You shouldn't be afraid to show emotion. You know, so he taught me everything. Like you said, how to be a husband. My dad never hit my mom. He ain't never cursed my mom out. You know, ladies, they be like, nagging you while you driving. He just keep his patience. He's like, I love you, sweetie. Yeah. Drink some water and we're going to be all right, basically.
Drink some water.
Drink some water and chill out. You be all right. So my thing that my dad taught me forever was faith. Like he said, you're nothing without faith. You know, have faith in God to let him do it, you know, do his thing and just follow the plan. So that's what my pops did for me.
Well, speaking about faith, did it become easier just seeing him do it? If he were to just tell you that, would you be able to take that the same way?
I'm an actions type of person. I learned through actions and mistakes and seeing him get on his knees. And when I'm in high school, you don't know anything about life. So when people have their faith, my faith didn't grow until I moved out of the house and started life.
Yeah.
So I'm the first person to say I'm not a perfect Christian at all. You know, sometimes I slip up with my tongue. You know, I have my flaws. Basically, everybody does. But, you know, getting on your knees and actually being a servant, that's what my dad was. He just served. He would drive the trucks at church to pick up kids, to bring them to school and stuff, you know, whatever. So his actions prove like, you know, this is what you should do as a man. So seeing him do that, he would tell me, "Oh, don't touch the fire; it's hot." I would touch the fire.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? You don't know.
Yeah.
But when I seen him like doing these things and praying, I was like, Dad, you know, I don't understand why you keep on praying. Like nothing's happening. It's been 3 years, 4 years, and nothing's changed. And after 4 years, he won his court case and he got a big settlement. He gave me a little cash.
Get you a little
something, go get you a watch, man. But it was like 4 years of you just praying and not knowing what the future had for him was huge for me.
Right, that's beautiful. Talk to me. I know you got some.
So I wouldn't say mine's is more specifically a specific moment. It's just maybe like 2 moments. For me, it was like one thing me and my dad used to always do was fish. My dad was a big fisher. Like I don't think it's nothing like hobby wise that he loves more. So he spent a lot of time on the lake. So I used to spend a lot of time on the lake with my dad fishing. And I would just say those was big moments for me because it was just me and him. So I got a lot of time just to like talk to my dad or just be with my dad. And like as a young boy growing up, like that was important for me. Even if we wasn't talking, even if we wasn't, you know, discussing anything serious, just the fact that I'm right next to my dad and we out here fishing. Those was big moments for me. And then I would say another one was this was after I graduated high school. And I went to go stay with my dad for the summer right before I went off to college. And my dad at this time, he had owned a business called MTech. It was a landscaping company in Tennessee. And that summer, I just worked with him the whole summer. So it's like we get up from 5, 6 in the morning and we'd be out cutting grass. He had like a whole clientele we used to hit. But like those whole days where we'd be out working with my dad side by side in the car, Ronald jump out, get this, get that. Like we had a system. And it was just me and him. So just those moments like that and that time I got to spend with my dad on those just one-on-one times, those was big moments to me because, you know, it's just important.
Yeah, those are things you're always gonna remember. Yeah. But I kind of resonate with your story, Denzel. And when I say resonate, it's at least brought something in my mind because I remember my dad like praying, and like when we'd be at church and just different things he did. He was very much like lead by example, exactly what you said. But it wasn't a whole lot of conversation. It was just like a lot of the things that I saw that I didn't really realize until later. But now I'm still struggling with that in my own relationship with my son. There's a lot of things I want him to see. And I do it, you know, in presence, trying to be around him. And proximity is really what matters. Like you talked about being with your dad and fishing. But there's other things that I might see that I've made more private. Like my praying time or like getting down on my knees or things that he might not see when I'm serving other people. And to hear you talk about how impactful it's been for you, I know that it needs to be something that I probably need to take more, you know, make more of a priority for that. How much time have you two gotten to be with your kids and show them some of the moments that you want to have them take with them forever?
Man, I mean, I think that's a challenge for fathers. I mean, as a father, man, as fathers, you know, we're supposed to guide, you know, we're supposed to teach, making sure that our children are getting the lessons that, they're supposed to be getting, and I'm constantly thinking about that all the time. I mean, there, I love being a husband, but there's just something different about being a father.
No, for sure.
I mean, I don't really have to do much, I really love my family and my family time. So we can just be spending time together and just knowing that we're together and that we like being together. There's some families that, they feel like they're forced to be together.
Yeah.
That was never my story, with my immediate family. And I don't want that to be, I want that to be the same way with my family now, with my wife and children. But it's a constant challenge because you're like, am I giving my kids the right reasons? I mean, as fathers, we want the world for our children, right? Yeah. But I'm also thinking, man, am I giving too much to them? Because I don't want them to grow up spoiled. I'm always constantly thinking about their future. Not when I mean future, like, are they going to be, respectful adults? Are they going to be respected as a person?
Yeah.
Are they, am I giving them the, making sure that I'm challenging them, now, so that way when they go into the world's not going to eat them up. I'm telling you, I constantly think about these things when I'm driving. Sometimes, I can drive home and don't be listening to nothing, and I'm just in my mind and thinking about my children. One day I can be like, man, I'm gonna go take my kids out for ice cream. I want to reward them, and I'm like, man, did they do anything good? But do I just want to be just that one dad that gives them everything?
Right.
I mean, sometimes I do.
Right. Absolutely.
My wife tells me, I say, oh, you just try to be the fun dad. I'm like, no, I try to. I try to balance, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm really trying to say is you got to have balance. Like, I can go and discipline my kids, but in about 10, 15 minutes, they're still underneath my arms and, getting that affection from their dads and stuff like that, or from me. And, I just balance is what, I'm thinking about every single day. Am I challenging them in every single way? So that way, when they become adults, they're going to be, not necessarily feared from the world, but respected.
No, yeah, and it's not always easy to do. Like, we talk about that balance. We had Jordan Drake on with us last week, and he talked about balance. And just through listening to his podcast again, and then finding a couple of memes and different reels that I've come across, there was this one guy who was talking about how parenthood is like soap. That's what, like, holding a bar of soap is literally like raising your child. You hold it too tight, maybe you be too disciplined or too hard on them, try to make them too tough. You hold the soap too tight, slip right up out your hands. They'll turn into something maybe you don't want them to turn them into. You don't hold them tight enough, no discipline, you don't try to teach them anything, you be the nice parent all the time or whatever, and maybe you just don't care, you're just very loose, soap falls right out of your hand. Now you don't have any control of whatever they're doing at all. Maybe you don't even have a relationship. I thought that was just wild for him to even put it together like that. But you're completely right. Like, balance is what it is. And this next generation is going to be very different. We talked about it before. I think, what did you call them, alphas?
Yeah. So I think Gen Zs are what, dominantly the new workforce is right now. But I think they're called the alphas. That's what our children are going to. And I was in this leadership course just this week, man, and I saw this percentage, man. They said 65%, or for those that are in kindergarten now, 65% of the jobs that they're going to be in is not even made yet. So wow. They're already growing up into a different world. The world is not going to be the same, when they become into the workforce, man. So it's like, I know my upbringing, man, and I think I turned out to be a decent young man, but it's going to have to be different because the world is changing. So now I'm going to have to adapt, to and teaching and trying to guide my kids the way that they need to be, the way they go, and making sure that they have that resilience, And, yeah, man, that's hard. That's tough.
Have you moved into tough love or had to use any tough love with your daughter yet?
Yeah. What is it? My daughter is very strong-willed, which she's like her mother and me. She's strong-willed already, she has a full-blown personality. She tries to give it away with stuff. But now, like, I'm seeing when we reprimand her, and like, I feel bad. One time I popped her butt one time because she kicked me in my groin when I was trying to change her. She caught me. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I was like, girl, And then I was like, oh man, I'm bugging. But when if I clap to her, I usually clap to get her attention. She'll like cry, and then she'll go into the corner near the front door. I'm like, is she trying to stay?
Trying to leave?
Yo. And she sits there in that corner because my wife has trained her. Nova, go stand in the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just because you have that, fear about how are you going to train your children to actually be good people, I feel the same way. But I'm like, I'm fearful about not being the man that I want my daughter to look for, or in companionship. I don't want to be a dirtbag dad.
Yeah.
And then she gets a dirtbag dude.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting here like, oh, man, I should have did a better job. And that's why I'm like, man, my wife and I, we may have disagreements. And we talk loud. Like, I'm a loud talker. It ain't like we yelling at each other.
Same.
But Nova, like, you see in her eyes, like, she'll get emotional because that's what, I don't want her to think that's normal communication for us to, if we disagree on something, we're going back and forth, yelling at each other. So I'm trying to do a better job. I've been doing the counseling, me and my wife. I think it's good to go to counseling because it's like I work out because I want strong muscles. So I do counseling because that's a workout for my marriage. So we can continue to get stronger and stronger.
That's real.
So in those things, we're learning how to communicate better, not ask triggering questions, like asking your significant other, why did you do this? Like, why would you do this? And then you get defensive because it's like, I did it because this is what I did to do.
Yeah. That's not the answer you really want.
No. And so I'm like, man, I have to learn how to communicate better so my daughter sees, okay, this is how a man's supposed to be. This is how a man should talk to me. This is how a man should, garner my attention. And that's my fear is my daughter bringing home a dirtbag. I'm going to be hurt.
That's the real.
And I know it's going to happen. I do know it's going to happen.
At some point, maybe.
Yeah, because I was a dirtbag when I was a teenager. So it's like, we were immature gentlemen when we was kids, and you learn and stuff like that. And it's like, dang, man, I want to protect her from that, but she's going to have to learn eventually. I want somebody that's going to treat me like my dad treats my mom.
Yeah.
So,
But what I think too, man, is that if you constantly showing your daughter, what a real man looks like, they would go and find that, the same, type of, attributes that she sees in you. She's going to try to get that, from someone else. So, I mean, it's a constant grind, being a father doesn't stop,
No.
So it's something that you're going to have to lead by example, and so I try to do the same thing. I actually think I discipline my daughter more than my son.
And I think I'm going to be like that.
Yeah.
I do, And my wife, she's like, you can't just talk to her. I'm like, hey, she got to learn.
She got to, yeah.
I'm like, yo, she got to learn.
My wife is always, I feel like she's always protecting the oldest child. It's the first baby. It's her boy. Because I'm on a separate spectrum from y'all. Like, y'all got girls and y'all are doing
all boys.
Yeah, that's rough.
Conversation. I'm having all boys. But when I'm talking about, like you were talking about maybe getting an argument or anything like that or speaking loud, one thing I've tried to make it a priority to do now is if me and my wife ever start a conversation where it gets boisterous or we either start arguing or disagreeing about something, I'm like, he's paying attention. I have to come back and see him and have him see us finish the conversation.
Yeah.
He has to see that you can get into those arguments. You can have disagreements with whoever you love, no matter what, but there's also going to be a solution. You also have to resolve it, and you also have to know how to communicate. So it could be something small, like, why'd you leave your shoes here? And we're going back and forth about it.
Yes,
that might not even really be it. But at the end of it, when my son's sitting on the couch after he heard us just arguing about absolutely nothing, I want to say, babe, you know what? I'm going to do a better job at this. I apologize for this. Next time I will do this. Or instead of using I, what I've learned in marriage counseling is we. Hey, we should probably do a better job at where we place our shoes. And now all I'm thinking about is he picking up on the way that we're communicating? Hey, mommy and daddy's not always mad at each other. Hey, they know how to have a disagreement and then finish it, come back and communicate. Is that something that you guys have talked about in communication and with I guess y'all gonna have a biological baby and then the baby girl now?
Yeah, daughter, I think that's unique.
Yeah. It's definitely like a learning area. Because I know how I am. I'm very reactive sometimes. So it's like I can overreact and it causes me to raise my voice sometimes. And I had to learn how to we can't do that. One, we can't do it in front of Kaylee because she sees that and she's internalized it and she repeats that behavior. She may repeat it like at school or something like that. So that's the communication thing has definitely been an area that we've had to figure out and navigate, but we've done it well. So when it comes to certain conversations, how we talk in front of each other, whether I'm raising my voice or we get into it, we can't do this right here in front of Kayla. We got to that point, like, we're going to table it, talk about it, lower our voices. Because she picks up on when daddy elevates his voice, and is he yelling at mommy or is mommy yelling at daddy? And it's like, I don't want her to think that that's normal, or I don't want her to go to think that, like, when she gets in a relationship, well, my mom and dad used to yell at each other all the time, so we supposed to yell at each other. Like, nah, we're not doing that. So it was definitely a learning point. Yeah.
Is there anything that you've taken from your father that you now want to emulate with your girls?
Yeah, definitely. I can say the biggest thing I take away from my father is how protective he was. And when I say this, I mean, it's like, I 100% believe, no, my dad would lay his life down he would have laid his life down for any one of us. And I honestly, man, I've got it naturally. Like, I'm just very protective of my girls, my wife, and it's just like, whether somebody's talking to them a certain way, like, even when we out, it's like, I make sure they're like within a close vicinity of me.
Y'all feel that.
It's like man. It's like you always on it's like you always on edge. Like, even if y'all at like a place together, like, okay, how we gonna get out of here? If this pop up, and it's like that. Like, I've naturally got that from my dad, and man. I've sometimes you can be a little too overprotective because you be like, we may be out the park, and you be like, okay, stay over here.
Yes,
don't go over there. Stay. It was like, baby, let her have fun, let her go run around a little bit. So you got to learn how to, like, I don't want to say tame it, but you know, I mean, you got to learn how to reel it in.
That's that balance.
You got to learn to reel it in sometimes. But the protective, I've definitely got that from my dad. So, but I'm trying to learn not to be too overprotective and let my girls still do their thing. So.
Oh, wife, no, I can't even really go to concerts or anything like that. I can go by myself, but as soon as I go with like my wife, it's like everything changes. Like, I'm constantly like in the mode of like, somebody gonna bump into her? Do I need to say something to somebody? I just feel anxious. Even when I go with my kids to maybe like a big festival or something, less like maybe it's a bunch of kids around, I get extremely like tense and stuff. And I'm like always on guard. You go to the restaurant, gotta sit not with your back to the door. I gotta be able to see everything. That's a must. And it's something I also saw from my dad, and it's like just something I think is naturally in me. But you talked about protection. I find myself being completely protective of my entire family, but growing up, I never really saw myself protecting myself. And that's something that I'm trying to teach to my son now, because and I don't know if it was maybe I don't know that I was insecure or anything like that, but when I joined the workforce, I didn't always put myself first. One, two, it was like, let's say somebody told me something, like my boss made me do something, I just do whatever they told me to do. I wouldn't like really I don't even know how to say it, but
stand up for yourself?
Yeah, it's almost like standing up for myself. It's something that I'm struggling with right now, thinking about moving into the civilian world and negotiating my contract. Naturally, whatever they tell me is good, I'm gonna naturally like think that's okay. But I need to protect myself as much as I'm gonna be protecting my family. Is that something that any of y'all have ever struggled with?
Honestly, man, I think I have. I think I struggle with it in a sense. I wouldn't say necessarily protecting myself, knowing when and when not to, when to turn it on, when to turn it off. And I think that's like a father moment, just like learning how to handle certain situations. Like, what's going on in this situation? How can I handle it? Do I need to step up and be maybe aggressive and defend myself a little bit more in the situation? Or maybe I'm just reading a situation wrong and be like, maybe I don't need to be aggressive. Maybe nobody's actually coming for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would say that was definitely, that's one of those moments.
Anyone of y'all ever been in that position? That's good. You about big
I'm
OG.
saying you got an intimidation factor though.
You 6'12".
You know, but like usually, like you just have the physical stature that, like, hey man, I'm not with the shenanigans.
Well, that was the thing too, though. Like I had puberty early, so I was always bigger than everybody. So I never really had anybody mess with me either.
Yeah.
So like, anybody ever try me? Anybody either try to give me no mental games, nothing like that. Yeah. But then when I was put in a position to actually have to speak up for myself or do it, I was like, oh man, I don't even know what to do. Like, I never really had to be in this position before. And I don't want my son to be in that. And the reason why I even brought it up is because a couple weeks ago, we had a situation where there was a friend who we thought was a friend. They might still be friends, but it was a little girl in this class. And we would, pick her up every once in a while, kind of had like a, pick up or
carpool type of thing,
situation or whatever, right? Yeah. And I started realizing that they were arguing like every single day. Because I can't tell if this girl's a bully or if she's, they're just not meshing? Are they spending too much time together? And I had to remember, just because they're spending a lot of time together doesn't make them a friend, right?
Yeah.
And after a while, he started
parents' relationships and stuff.
just because of parent relationships. So after a while, he started telling me, it was like, hey, this girl's like being really mean to me, like in class. And I'm like, okay, maybe they're just spending too much time together. After a while, I started asking, like, what type of things, like, was she saying? And he shared with mom. He was too afraid, I guess, to tell me. He shared with mom, like, today she was doing something wrong. I told the teacher because she was in my group or whatever. And she came back to me and said, I'm going to kill you. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, babe, she said she's going to do what? And remind you, she's, 5 years old or whatever. So she might be wilding a little bit. But at the same time, like, yo, that's insane because you never know. You never really know. Yeah, and it was real deep for my wife. She started crying because the first thing she was thinking about was like, what if something happens where I can't protect my child's emotions, mental, or something happens in real life? And that was like my first time. I was like, I have to make sure I'm speaking to my son in a way that he knows that he can protect himself in any way, either physically or that he doesn't feel afraid to tell me, tell the teacher, or tell that person, hey, man, you don't talk to me like that. You need to get up out my face. So we had that conversation, but that's why I even brought that up.
No, that's true. I have my wife and I, we had a friend that had a child, and he, the kid was just a little aggressive, and he's like a little bit, he's probably like 6 years older than 6 or 5 years older than my daughter. And like, he was hitting my daughter with a yoga ball. And I was like,
thinking it's funny, probably. Yeah.
I don't know. Cause I don't know what, and I was like, hey, brother, you know, I got
brother.
I got real, like, excuse me, brother. I told him, I was like, hey, my man, what you doing? I was like, oh, what you doing? And he was like, oh, I said, bullshit.
Yeah,
we ain't playing.
Nah,
that's it. My kid, a 2-year-old, and the thing is, he hit my 2-year-old with whatever the yoga ball was. So my kid hit him back. And my daughter, she's really tall. So
she is tall.
She looks like a 4-year-old. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Like, you got me. Right there. But I'm like, yo, like, in those moments, because I was always a high head growing up. And that was bad. Because, like, even when I went out in college, some dude bumped me the wrong way. I'm like, yo, what's up? What we doing?
What we doing?
And it kind of, I had a come down moment because I had a cousin who was unfortunately murdered at a club for one of those situations where ego and, going too quickly. And it wasn't even him. Another dude came at him with some crazy energy. And my cousins defended themselves. But that dude, went to his vehicle, came back. He just let it ride on all 3 of my cousins, unfortunately. But it was like those moments I have to like relax. I'm like, I don't know.
Is it even worth it?
Yes. Yeah. And I don't even know what those people got. You know what I mean? And then the same thing, I have to learn how to talk to other people's children. Yeah. Because my first reaction is like, hey, I will grab your kid. I don't care.
Yeah.
If your kid's about to do some damage to my kid, I'll grab your kid and stop it.
Yeah.
So I have to learn how to communicate with other parents. So like, articulate myself the right way, not to just full out, because it may not be their fault. Their kid may be thinking a certain way.
Yeah.
I have to like say, hey, your kid did this. I just want to let you know, like, I really didn't appreciate that. If you can check that, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I can come off like a jerk. And I can be like, yo, get this badass kid out of here. Unfortunately, and I don't want to say that because that offends their parents.
Yeah. And now they got to get beat up.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Everybody catch your hands.
You know what I mean? I don't want to mess up relationships I have with good people.
That's true.
It's just like, I just want them to be aware this is how I feel before I come and I have to step in and be Superman.
Yeah, I think that's one of those moments I was talking about earlier, man. Like, just knowing how to like handle a situation, because it's like, man, is this a time where I need to be protective of myself, or is this a time where I could de-escalate and not be so aggressive and overprotective or whatever, man? Like, and it's hard, but I think that's one of the hard parts of fatherhood, like that, where the child is knowing when to not be protective and when not to be overprotective. That's one of those moments I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
You know what? I want to go back to a time where we were over your house, and we've gotten extremely close. Like, I love your family. The kids are somewhat close in age, but we had a conversation about like protecting our kids. We were talking about maybe spending the night over somebody else's house, and I'm glad we had that conversation because it brought up so many different nuances. And we've been placed in a position before where somebody was like, hey, like we're having an end of the year birthday party. Can so-and-so spend the night? And you got to think first, like for the child, they're like, oh yeah, like this is great.
Yeah,
this is cool. But for us, we got a lot more things to think about when you're maybe talk to or ask that question. What are the things that you're thinking about? Have you been in that position before?
Too many times. But me and my wife are on the same page, man. Especially at this, at their age right now, man. They don't need to be spending the night. You know, even if if it's like family, that even to the blood, man. Like, okay, cool. But other than that, man, I don't know what these kids are doing.
Yeah.
What you got to realize is that everybody's upbringing ain't the same.
That's true.
You know,
That's
and
real
then
true.
even now, stories are coming out. Oh, now, I was molested when I was, this age and this age, and it happened when I was sleeping over here. They're being real, questionable and stuff like that, man. I don't got time for that, So, hey, if you want to come over, you want to, hang out with my kids and stuff while, under my supervision, yeah, that can happen. Or even if you want to do a play date or, hey, we can meet up somewhere, obviously we're going to socialize our children. But, we're real iffy about, spending the night and stuff like that because too many things are going on, man. Kids are growing up way faster nowadays, man. There's some of the things that they're talking about.
Bro.
Yeah, so much things that they're talking about at, young age that we wasn't talking about until our teenage years. And I'm not going to expose my children for that. So I'm glad that, me and my wife are definitely on the same page.
They have access to so much, bro. Yeah. If you think about just the video games, as soon as they move off the Bluey video games, the Paw Patrol, and they move into their first NFL, NBA, 2K, whatever it is, everything's online. Remember back in the day for us, bro, you wanted to play Call of Duty or Halo or whatever. You came over to the crib.
You gotta be sitting right next to me, man.
Next to you, and your parents can watch you. And whatever you're talking about, they step in every once in a while. They don't even say nothing. They step in, they take a look, and they step back out, right? Make sure you ain't doing nothing crazy. But now, you hop on, like if my son get old enough, 11, 10, 11, 12 years old, hop on 2K, get online. Whoever is on the other side of that can say whatever they want to.
Yeah.
You might not even hear
and
what
that's how they learn, bro.
And that's how they learn. They got access to the internet. It's everywhere,
There's
bro.
so many different outlets, man, that they're getting exposed to. It's making it harder for, not just us dads, but parents in general to screen all that stuff, man. With the YouTubes and the TikToks and just, like you said, video games. It's like almost everywhere you look, it's a different outlet that can be exposed to your children. And, we just got to be, on top of that.
And we got to understand, too, is like it's part of their world now. This is something that we literally cannot defeat.
And like you said, adapting. Yeah. You said it best, like you got to adapt with the times. Like what worked for our parents and grandparents back then. And that's why I remember my mom would always say, we didn't do this when we was kids. My mom would do this. And we wasn't back in the day. This is how it was going down. But it's like time.
Prime example, man. All right, look, for us, right? We're all pretty much millennials, right?
Yeah.
We can go play outside, but we had to come back in when what?
Like the street
when
lights.
the street lights come back on. And you think, look at our kids now. You think you're going to literally just, have them out down the street, man?
Not like back in the day,
man, me and my brothers, man, we would be on our bikes, man. We would be riding at least 5-10 miles a day. Can be in the next neighborhood and stuff like that. And I can't think of my kids growing up doing that.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't trust my kids. I don't trust the world.
Yeah.
So as simple as them playing, 2 blocks over, something, you don't know what's going to happen. So that's why I'm thinking, hey, man, like, even on certain tough love, like, I was raised on tough loves, I got whoopings and stuff like that. My wife tells me too, because I'll be quick to, if I'm out in town, because my parents would say that, hey, I'll embarrass you before you embarrass me. I said it to my kids. If we in the grocery store or something and they acting up, I'll be quick to like, yo, what's up? And then my wife's like, baby, you gotta be mindful. I don't need nobody sending you to jail, right? You ain't sending nobody to jail. Like they minded their business. There was just a dad or a parent, disciplining their kids. So now people don't want to be disciplined or discipline their children because they're afraid that they're going to be called, going to jail or what's it, CPA, CPS or whatnot. So they just like, I'd rather just my kid just act out or whatnot. No, I'm not going to have that. So again, balance comes in and is like, okay, I'm not just going to, be out there taking my belt off in the, aisle 3 in the grocery store, but hey,
this ain't back in the day like it used to be.
Yeah.
But it's still so hard too, because if you look on Instagram, everybody and their mama feel like they can give somebody a tip or two, right? Like they figured it all out. And a lot of times they ain't got no degree in it, they don't got no certification in it. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt. Just because you have a degree or a license in something doesn't mean you know everything.
Right.
And just because you have a platform or you're an influencer, you got 300,000 followers, don't mean you know anything either. And it's a balance to that too. Like we gotta understand, like we have to create the village. You gotta be mindful. You gotta be intentional about everything when it comes to fatherhood, because we're still gonna see some challenges and we're still gonna have to work through them.
Absolutely.
And that's something I want to get into next. I want to know if there's anything that you guys have been challenged with that has kind of trickled down from maybe your relationship with your father. So for me, I was talking about protecting. Like my daddy never really talked to me much about like protecting myself. It was always about protect your brother. It's all about protect your mom because I was the oldest. And that's just kind of how things worked in the African culture. You're the head of the household. That's what you do. You protect, you provide. So when I got in position to protect myself, I didn't really know. And it's not that he did that in a bad way. I think it's just something that maybe we missed, right? I'm pretty sure if we got onto that topic, that's something that he definitely would have passed down to me. And this might take some time for you guys to even think about. Has there been anything in your relationship with your father that you now struggle in life with or struggle in parenthood with because of the relationship you had with your father?
Yeah, I think I would say for me, like kind of going back to like that tough love, like you said, my tough love was probably like a little bit, it felt a little bit different because a lot of the tough love my dad used to give me, I feel like sometimes I feel like I was getting bullied by him, you know, and like, teasing me, making fun of me and stuff like that, teaching me just to be
have thick skin, probably
thick skin and be tougher. But the opposite of that is like it grew up and it made me angry and made me hot-headed because now like, I'm in school or whatever and like I had to take that from my dad because it's my dad. I ain't got to take that from none of y'all.
Yeah.
So now I was a little bit more prone to pop off now.
I was about to say, you whoop your
So it made me angry moving forward, and like it made me angry and maybe mishandle situations where I made it feel like somebody was trying to bully me, and this person wasn't trying to bully me, but I felt like they was because it was reminiscent of sometimes what I had to hold back from how my father was making me feel.
He was holding it in.
Yeah, so it's like it made me angry a little bit growing up. So that's definitely something I've and I'm gonna be honest, man, I'm 31. I just learned that for real when I met my wife. And we had a situation. She was like, "Baby, you think you react that way because of the way your dad kind of was on you?" I was like,
wow.
Yeah. And like ever since then, I'm very aware of like how I'm reacting in the situation, or how I'm feeling in the situation. I'm like, I don't have to react that way because this person is not coming for me, or this person is not trying to bully me and things like that. And I'm learning to not be like that with my daughter now because it's like I can't give her tough love. My tough love got to look different than what my father gave me. So I'm a lot more vocal with my daughter and using my words and, baby, this is why you can't do that. You just explaining things instead of just, black and white with everything. So that's definitely something that I would definitely say I learned from my relationship with my dad that I'm unlearning. So yeah.
I think mine is and it's a thing that growing up during that time, men don't talk about their feelings. So my dad, it comes to find out when I got older that he dealt with anxiety, and I never knew that as a kid. So he would have all these different medications sometimes in the house. I would never knew what they were for. And also when I was in college, he had cancer when I was at the academy. And he never said anything about it. Like didn't mention it at all. Like didn't say anything to me about it.
That's my life
until I found, he came to the Army Navy game. We were in a hotel together. And on his phone, it was a picture of him ringing a bell. I was like, "Oh, was you on a ship or something like that?"
Oh, wow.
And my mom was like, "Oh, no, that was when you were when your dad finished his last treatment." I was like, "Treatment for what?"
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I was dealing with I had a little cancer thing going on for about 3 years." And I was like,
cancer?
You didn't tell me.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I do wish is now, because I dealt with anxiety when I was at the academy, and it happened on the field, actually, the football field. There were times where high stress moments, I look at the sideline and my vision would like blur. And I'd be looking like trying to get the call, and the coaches be like, "You don't even know what you're doing." And I'm like, I don't know why my heart's beating so fast. This has never happened to me. Or like there'll be instances where someone may say something to me and it'll trigger, and my brain will go like blank. And those conversations, if my dad would have told me, we talk a lot more now that I am a dad and we can connect about certain things. But if we would have talked about those things earlier when I was growing up, I think I wouldn't have been so surprised when they were happening to me.
Yeah.
So with my child, I'll be a lot more open about my feelings and, how I feel about certain things and my life experiences. Because your dad wants to hide you from certain things. They don't want you to.
Trying to protect you.
Yeah. And being that macho man, he was like, yo, I know how sensitive and how close we are in our relationship. If I tell you I have cancer, you may try and drop out of the academy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he was protecting me. But at the same time, I wish he would have told me about some of those health problems he was dealing with. Because then I'd be like, it's okay to go through them things.
You would hope so.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know. Like, that's hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
I was a 21-year-old high-strung kid.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're a man until you actually have people you're responsible for. Because some people don't have children, but they may have siblings that they take care of, or close people that they're looking after.
Yeah.
I think that's when you really learn what it is to be a man.
Yeah.
In my opinion. You know what I mean? So I learned that from him.
Yeah. I think we got that in common, man. My father didn't tell me about his struggle with cancer until I joined the Navy.
What?
I found literally I was in boot camp and he wrote me a letter. That's when I found out.
Can you go into that a little bit? Would you mind?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Growing up, my dad didn't really have any health issues or anything growing up. He was always, my dad was a buff dude. He had spent time in prison, so he was always a bigger, muscular guy. So as far as I know, I used to hoop with my dad. As far as I know, he didn't have any health issues. And then it was a week before I went to boot camp. My dad had called me, and when he called me, he was in the hospital. And it's just me and my older sister Brandis were on the phone. And he was like, yeah, this is what I'm in the hospital right now. And then from there, he was like, what's going on? He just went into this emotional spot. And it was like, I've never seen my dad like that. Well, I didn't see him, but on the phone.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Was that shocking for you, just to hear him emotional?
It was. Cause I'm like, I can name on one hand how many times I see my dad cry. Wow. That moment when my brother went to prison, and then when his mom died, 3 moments. That's it. So that was one of the moments. And I'm like, what's going on? He was like, he wouldn't tell us. He was just like, if this is my last day, I just want y'all to know I love y'all and things like that. So we still trying to figure out what is he talking about? Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then he still didn't tell us. So we was on the phone. He was like, Pop, whatever it is, you're going to go through the surgery, get better, whatever. So then when I got to boot camp, he wrote me a letter, when you get your first letter in boot camp. And he told me what had happened. He told me what he was dealing with, what was going on. And I called him when I was able to get the call, and I was like, why didn't you tell me? So I was kind of upset. I'm
upset, yeah.
Why didn't what's I understand it in the sense of he don't want no one to worry about him. Yeah. He don't want to be a burden on anybody. He want his kids to not have to worry about, their dad leaving. So I get it from that aspect. But it was also why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
I love you. Anything I could do, if I could give up one of my organs to make sure you're still here, I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you I would. So it was frustrating that he didn't tell me, and I was upset and I was mad for a long time. Because why didn't he tell me? Why didn't he tell us ahead of time? Maybe we could have done something together, or maybe we could have pulled, resources or something to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a tough, man. That was a low moment in my life, and it was I don't want to call it depression, but I would say that's one of the closest moments I've ever felt to being semi-depressed. It's because I feel like I had no control in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's my dad is dying, and what do I do? Literally, I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, my dad ended up dying a few months after that. He died of glioblastoma. I think I'm saying that right. Okay. It's a brain cancer. But then after it was just real aggressive, and I was kind of also upset with him because by the time he told me, it was towards the end. You know what I mean? So it's I wish I could have got more time. Maybe I could have went down there a few more. So it's it robbed me of some of the time that I would have made, or I made time to spend more time with him. But yeah, man, it's tough. Cancer is tough.
Have you forgiven him for that?
Yeah, I've forgiven my dad. Yeah, I've forgiven him. I understand him. I think that's what made me forgive him, because I understand why because I can only imagine having to tell my baby girl that or my wife that. That's hard. It's tough. Daddy's not gonna be here that much longer. So I understand. It's tough. I've forgiven him. Yeah, that's tough, man.
I think forgiveness sometimes, perspective breeds forgiveness sometimes, and we need that, especially now being father. So for you, Chris, what challenges do you feel like you've dealt with or deal with now that's trickled down from your relationship with your father?
My situation a little bit different, man. Let me paint the picture a little bit. depends, man. We're athletes, right? My father, he comes from a family of 8, 5 boys, 3 girls, and they all was athletes, right? I actually had an uncle, man, who would have got drafted by the New York Mets, you know. But I'm kind of painting the picture a little bit because as I grew up, right, my father was a baller, right, and it was never. He would tell us, me and my brother, some stories, right, but he would always take us everywhere, and it was always hearing this from the mouth of others, whether it's from my uncles, or whether we'll meet other, men or women who he went to high school with, and they used to like, yo, your dad was this, your dad was this, right? So knowing the type of athlete my father was, right? He even he was a coach. He coached basketball in high school, and I kind of seen how he coached, right? But he never, for me and my brothers, he never like pushed us as much as I wanted him to, right? Because I seen what type of coach he was, right? And he was a great coach, right? And great teacher, but a great coach. But he never like really pushed us,
the same way.
Yeah, the same way, right? And I asked him that later on when I came an adult, and he was like, "Yeah, I wanted you guys to, to actually want it. I wasn't going to push something on you to where, you just disliked it, and didn't really want to do it, right? If you wanted to do it, then we was going to make sure you gave it, 100% effort and everything, right? So now, me as a father, right? I was a late bloomer. I mean, I played football, played basketball, right? But I always used to feel that, man, if my father just would have pushed me a little bit more, if he was that hard dad on me, I probably would have made it to the pros, or I probably would have been better than what I really was, right? So as a father, my oldest, my son, man, which I'm telling you now, he's gonna be something, man. Chris Penn III, man, I'm putting that on the camera right now. He's gonna be an athlete.
There we go.
Right?
You gotta put that in the air.
Yeah, I definitely am, man. He's just a natural born athlete. Right,
we've seen him. He's
nice. I
right?
mean,
Really?
he's on his 7-year-old right now. He's playing baseball. Baseball is his love right now. I mean, but
money at.
I've seen him in soccer. With not really pad football right now. He said he wants to, right? But I kind of at this age I want to expose him to everything.
That's how
until around like 10 years old, so I can kind of hey son, let's just lean towards this, right? But now as a father who was an athlete, I'm kind of like that hard coach on it, right?
Yeah.
I had a situation, man, so when he wanted to play baseball, man, first time playing baseball, man, he was all in. I go get a tee, I go get a net, we playing catch, we're in my backyard. And, at this point, he still has that hunger. Hey, Dad, you want to go play catch? Oh, let's go play catch, And I'm like, hey, go get the tee. We're going to hit some balls off the tee, right? We're just kind of going off some stuff, but I'm hard on him, right? I'm hard on him. He's hitting balls, and then he hit like 3 balls, just like he hit the tee, didn't even hit the ball, right? So I'm like kind of digging into him and stuff like that. He's like looking at me, motionless. Then all of a sudden he just started crying, right? And I, as a father, I felt bad, right? And then I started thinking like, man, just because my father didn't push me, the way I wanted to be, I can see the potential in my son, but like, he loves this game, but I don't want it to where he's thinking of these moments right now to where in a year or two he doesn't want to play,
right?
And then that's just wasted potential, So I think that that's what I kind of struggle with. I'm just like, okay, I might be hard on him, even like when I go to his games, and he just never seems to, impress me in everything. His first year being here, they wanted him to be pitcher, and I see him throwing balls across the plate. He hit his first home run at 7. And he was struggling with hitting for a little bit. So, towards the end of the season, like that's all we was doing. That's all we was doing, But to see him pick up on certain things, I know that he has a love for it, and he's just a natural born athlete. But I just got to find again that balance on like, okay, do I just drilling him every single day? In a couple of years he ain't gonna want to do it, or do I just lighten up and then I don't bring out that enough potential,
Yeah.
So I think that by me not having that as a kid, I'm kind of turning into that person. But I don't blame my dad whatsoever because because he chose not to do that, he allowed me and my brothers to be kids.
Yeah.
You know, he exposed us to more things. He gave us more life lessons and really kind of molded me to the man and father that I am today. You know, so I love him for that. You know, so that's just something that I a little struggle with. You know, but then again, hey, us fathers, that's all we do. We struggle on a day-to-day basis, man, trying to be the best.
We just trying to get it right, man. That's it. It's like literally, however many pieces of, and there's so many different nuances to the story too. It's however many kids you got is whatever you dealt with in your past life, whatever you're dealing with right now, whatever you're thinking about in the future. As fathers, man, we be thinking about 20, 30 years down the road sometimes, and everything might be right in front of you, but it's like I gotta do this so that this is set and this is straight. And maybe nobody else can see it but us. But in keeping this in closing, we only got a few more minutes. What I want to know is either one, what you're most passionate about in fatherhood, or if there was a question that you wanted me to ask you, how would you answer that question and what the question was?
Yeah, and I think I'll go straight into that, man. I think we don't talk enough about the difference in fatherhood and motherhood. You know, you kind of said it a little bit. You know, I think, just my opinion. I think motherhood, the prime example, kid falls down, crying and stuff like that. You know, how many times you've seen your wives or your spouse go run to him right away? Hey, wait a minute, let him get up. Hey, you all right? Come on, you okay? Get up, right? But they want to go and nurture them and stuff like that. So just one of my opinions is that motherhood, they're more for the now. They're the ones that most of them are, or some are at home. They're getting teaching them their names, ABCs and stuff like that. But us fathers, we're thinking about the future.
Wow,
thinking about their adulthood. What lessons are we teaching them to where they can become great fathers, or they can become a great man or a great woman. So I just think that there is a difference.
Yeah.
So, we might look at our spouses or stuff like that. Don't do that, blah, blah, blah. But that's their natural. That's just nature. They're going to teach their children the way that they naturally know how to.
Yeah.
And we have to know that differences, and then kind of get on, on the same page and actually know that. So that way we can, as a couple, as a unity, to bringing our children up, the way that we're supposed to.
That's beautiful. I never heard nobody put it there like that. I know I've heard nature and nurture, but you really spoke to me in like a military term. There's current ops and future ops.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, current op and future ops right there. If you miss one of those, if you're current all the time, you will never be prepared for anything. If you're future all the time, you'll be messed up in the right now all the time. So, talk to me, Denzel, what you got?
Man, I say, I'll be honest with y'all. I've been going through a tough time making a transition to move. I thought I was going to be on the East Coast forever. And for them to tell me, I found out Friday, the opportunity for me to go and move to San Diego. I've been grinding here, doing real estate, getting my name out here. And then for this whole year and a half, now I got to move and uproot everything and go to the West Coast. I had moments where, and we all talking about emotions, I've been in my house and I've either wanted to cry because I know I put work in out here.
Yeah.
Or at the same time yell because I'm like, I wanted this and I'm getting what I wanted. I wanted this opportunity in the fleet to go do this. And I'm grateful that I was just even here because y'all energy was amazing today. I don't have anything else to say, but I actually need it today. Thank you, Meyer. Thank you to both for letting me be here because, man, there be some days when you're a dad, man, and your family can get your energy and I don't want them to see me sweating. And sometimes it comes to it. And my wife, she can always tell when I'm dealing with something. Yeah. And she's like, well, sweetie, we can do this. We can do that. And I'm sitting there and I'm being negative. I'm like, man,
Yep.
I'm like, look at this. Look what we finna do. and I needed to be grounded. So today was awesome.
Hey, man, first of all, I just want to thank you for being vulnerable, man. You didn't have to say that, right? Yeah. But it's okay. Yeah. Take it from somebody who literally moved across the world multiple times with my kid, right? And to hear you say that, I felt the same way both times. Yeah. I was nervous. Yeah. From the first time going to Guam, now I've been there before, but I haven't. I was thinking man, I'm literally moving my 2 kids and my wife across, the Pacific Ocean, right? And then even moving back here, I didn't want to come to Virginia. You know, I wanted to go somewhere where I was comfortable. I wanted to go to San Diego.
Exactly.
Man, I've never, ever been in the Hampton Roads area, especially for a guy who's at the end of his career. You know, I thought I didn't know nobody out here, right? I've never took any schools out here. I've never even landed in Norfolk airport for a layover, right? So, you know, the comfortability that I had in California, I wasn't having that. So literally, you know, us as fathers and I think as men too, we don't want to share that with anybody else because we feel like we're lesser than. You know, it's okay. We can be emotional, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, lean on your wife, man.
Yeah. She's a dog. Yeah, she's been great.
I put that out there, man. If my wife is an amazing partner, right? And I need her. I try to tell her that all the time is that I can't do this life without you, right? You know, for as simple as coming home to a peaceful home. You know, some of us, you know, are, you know, at work, you know, might have a stressful day, but then, you know, I don't have to deal with coming home to a disaster house. Or what I mean by that is like, you know, my wife's not nagging me or anything like that, man. Peace, bro. Yeah. And I think a lot of people take that for advantage, man. I enjoy my peace. When I come home, man, I can literally just sit on the couch and then have my kids come home. They greet me. My wife greets me. And I look forward to that moment every single day. So lean on your wife, man. If it wasn't for her, man, you know, I think that both transitions, going to Guam and then coming here from Guam, I would have never able to do that, right?
Yeah, no.
So,
Man.
but it's okay to feel that way.
Yeah,
you know, it is common and it's normal, right? But again, I just want to appreciate you saying those.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
That's real. That's real.
And Ron, I'll let you close this thing out, man.
For me, man, I would say I'm passionate about with me still learning this fatherhood thing is I just want my kids to be. I want to equip them with as many opportunities and resources as they can. You know, and by that I mean like introducing them to a lot of new things, whether it's sports, whether it's chess, or like no matter what it is, give them another way to progress to the next level, whether it's in their education, whether it's in sports, like no matter what it is, like so I'm constantly going through this thing where it's like, what can I teach my daughter, or what can baby girl's about to be here, what can I do, what can I teach her, what can I show her to give her as many opportunities as she can for like the next area of her life, whether it's high school, college, and even like far beyond, like so I would say that's what I'm very passionate about, just giving my children and making sure they got the things that I didn't have, or the opportunities and the resources.
Bro,
that's it for me.
Yeah,
this was good.
Yeah, no, it was great, man.
And Denzel, we'll talk more. I don't know exactly when you leave, but I think we need to do this at least one more time, even if we got to put you in on a virtual.
Bro,
we're gonna call this group Brothers and Beards. All right, and we're gonna do this again. So, here for the dads. Out.
Shit was tough.
It was.
Thank you for watching. You just listened to Here for the Dads podcast with Meyer Crawl. I am so grateful that you're here. But if you're new to this space, what I need you to do is slow down and subscribe, share, review, or rate. Whatever you can to help me out, because I'm on a journey to create a space for existing fathers and new fathers that's going to allow them to be a little bit more confident and a little bit more efficient at what they're doing.